Good morning, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us as we found chairs for everyone. You are, as I said, you are our largest graduating class ever. We are starting to outgrow our space like goldfish. So good morning, class of 2015. I am so glad to welcome you to this culminating moment of your undergraduate career. I am Dr. Stephanie Murray, the director of the BXA program, and I'll give you an overview of what we're going to do today, and then I have a few remarks before we get started. So today you are going to receive your diplomas from your corresponding deans, plural, because you occupy the space of two separate colleges. We will do that after we have a couple of speakers, and then afterwards we have a reception. So let us begin. I am so proud of and impressed by you, our BXA class of 2015. I am also so proud of and impressed by your families who are here with you today and who have been your support both figuratively and literally over the last 4-ish years, and they deserve recognition as well. So let's give them a round of applause. I would also like to welcome the deans and associate deans representing the colleges that make up BXA. We have with us today Dan Martin, Stanley and Marcia Gumberg Dean, College of Fine Arts. Richard Shines, Dean, Dietrich College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Andrew Moore, Dean, School of Computer Science. Eric Grotzinger, Associate Dean for Undergraduate Affairs, Mellon College of Science. And we also have Franco Shanameo, Associate Dean for Interdisciplinary Initiatives in the College of Fine Arts. Franco will be presenting degrees to those students who have completed self-defined majors in CFA, but as you also know, Dr. Shanameo was director of BXA when you began with us 4 years ago, and I'm very glad he can also be part of your celebration today. So, class of 2015, I like you. I've liked you from that morning at orientation breakfast back in 2011 when we crowded 26 of you into a room and I got to work learning your names. Very soon, though, I also learned just how great and smart and talented and just plain weird you are. Your BXA freshman seminar was the first one I taught here, and I learned so much from you about how to teach students with interests that spanned the entire university. And also, we got to watch a lot of weird videos on YouTube, so that was nice. So not only were you the largest BXA freshman class in recent history, and perhaps ever, but your ranks were further bolstered by internal transfers once everybody else on campus figured out how great your program was. And that brought in even more weird polymaths, and the resulting graduating class here with us today represents 20 academic disciplines and all 5 CFA schools. You have traveled the globe, volunteered here in Pittsburgh, and earned all the awards, from Phi Beta Kappa membership to undergraduate research grants to Meeting of the Minds recognition. You have made and done so many amazing things, and I've been privileged to watch you slowly take over the world. But I'd also like to take a minute this morning to remember one member of your cohort who should be here taking over the world with you, but is not. When Henry Armero died midway through your sophomore year, the world lost a very bright future, but you lost a friend. I am so sorry that you had to feel that pain, and I'm so glad you had each other to lean on. In the years since, Henry's family has established a fund in his name to encourage inclusive creativity, and 3 people from this graduating class have made or are making projects sponsored by that fund. For anyone else, I would ask now for a moment of silence, but for Henry, I'd like you to, sometime today, instead have a moment of loudness in his memory. And now that we've looked back retrospectively, the structure of a commencement speech like this one requires that now I exhort you to in a forward-looking manner. You were great here. You did great things, you met great people, you racked up great sleep deficits. You proved You proved your skill in multiple disciplines and across multiple modes of knowing and learning. Now you get to turn those skills, that knowledge, that creativity toward making your way in the world. I am so proud of what you have accomplished here at CMU, but I know that the things you'll do next are even more important and impressive. So go now. Show them all what your giant weird diplomas with your giant weird degree name really means. And this is where I also tell you to come find us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and also to become a loyal Scot, because even if you only give them $5, that means you're in, and we can send you cool things later. And finally, because you can take the literary critic out of the English department, but you cannot take the English department out of the critic, I'd like to end with a few lines of poetry. It's hard to find poetry that is encouraging without being sappy, heartening without being cliched, and the subgenre of graduation poems is a very dire field. But at its best, poetry is emotion condensed down to a pocket-sized refrain you can carry with you. This is from Mary Oliver's Summer's Day. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Congratulations, BXA class of 2015. I can't wait to see what you do with your one wild and precious life. And now I have the very great pleasure of introducing a special alumni speaker. Rebecca Allison graduated from BHA in Architecture and Human Behavior Studies in 1996, a pioneer in BHA, and went on to earn a Master of Public Management from Hines College. Becca has served on the CMU Alumni Association Board since 2010 and began as the AAB president in 2014. We are so glad to have her today, Becca Allison.
Thank you, Stephanie. It really is so wonderful to see how much this program has grown. We were just remarking that we think that I was in that very first graduating class, and there were only 3 of us. So needless to say, we did not have space constraints, and we were actually in the Mudge House Lounge for our graduation. So this is a much more esteemed space to be celebrating in today. So congratulations on your graduation. I have the privilege of addressing all of the graduates later this morning at commencement over in the stadium. And I've grappled a little bit with the right words for that audience, because truthfully, my experience was very different from the majority of them, but it was obviously much more similar to the experience that you had as undergraduates, so I'm so pleased to have the chance to relate a little bit of that to you today. So even though I graduated almost 20 years ago, there are lessons that I learned as a BHA student that are really still very beneficial to me. And as I was reflecting on my time, I identified 3 things that I really learned from this experience. The first thing that I learned about is I learned about what I love. I started my first year as an architecture major, taking studio classes, wood shop, drawing, and then early in my sophomore year, switched to English. And I also loved music, so at some point very, very early on, I had all the requirements to fulfill a music minor. And needless to say, I just didn't feel like I could settle for one area. I felt like I'd truly be abandoning what I loved if I really narrowed to one particular field. And that spring, I started to hear these rumors about this proposed interdisciplinary program that would cross over multiple colleges, and most notably for me, the College of Fine Arts and the Dietrich College. And it immediately felt like the best fit. I finally had a program that really allowed me to synthesize all of these areas and then set out to plan a course of study with my advisor. My passions for architecture, literature, history, design, psychology, urban planning, and music have really enriched my life. In my professional life and my career in education, I've applied theories and concepts that I learned, and I've taught my students about these topics that I love. But perhaps more importantly, these interests of mine have helped me enjoy and appreciate the world and how we fit into it. I am better for the opportunity I had to pursue these passions here. The second thing that I learned from my BHA experience was to be an advocate for myself. This was a big lesson, and one that I still benefit from. In the beginning, when the program was new, and maybe still to this day, I constantly had to explain and sort of justify my major to everyone around me, peers, faculty, advisors, and my parents. It wasn't easy to explain quickly or in shorthand, so I figured out quick ways to capture it for whatever audience I was addressing. Oftentimes, my peers wanted to know sort of, what's your home department? Like, where do you live? Faculty often wanted to understand how it all fit together. How did it synthesize? And my parents and family mostly wanted to know what on earth I was going to do after graduation. But this ability to think on my feet and speak confidently about my work and my loves and my passions has continued to be a really important skill. That ability to tailor my conversation to my audience and be convincing and compelling has been applicable in my professional life as a teacher, in my work in student affairs, and perhaps most relevantly as the mother to an almost 2-year-old. I do a lot of quick thinking and trying to convince or sell him on my way of thinking. But the last thing that I learned from my BHA experience was to love this place. I got so much out of my time at Carnegie Mellon. I learned from our very best faculty across all of our colleges. And in one semester, in fact, I was taking 5 classes in 5 different colleges. I mean, who else gets to do that? I learned from masters in their fields who themselves had such contagious passion and incredible expertise. It was the best opportunity. And candidly, I don't know why everyone here doesn't do something more like this. How boring to have been a traditional major in a single discipline. You truly got the very best that this place has to offer. And don't tell your fellow graduates later this morning, but I consider you here in this room to really be the best of the best in terms of being ambassadors, advocates, and true tartans. You've had the richest and most engaged academic experience here and are more deeply connected than anyone else. I hope you'll join me and stay connected in whatever way you want to, and come back often. You have a gift of being able to share your experiences with future BHA students or BXA students, and I'm just so excited for all that lies ahead for you and so proud of your accomplishments. Congratulations on your graduation, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Becca. That was really fantastic. I feel like we got the special version of the big speech that we'll hear later on. We also have a student speaker today who should be recognized for many things. Among them, she is a fantastic painter, a really, really amazing teacher, and is at the top of our graduating class, which is, not an easy thing to do here at CMU. She is headed to Columbia University to pursue a master's in education so that she can move on to terrifying high school students in the best way further down the road. I give to you Laura Paik, a Bachelor of Humanities and Arts in English and Art.
Thank you. Hi. Well, being a combined art and English major, I frequently come up against the question of what makes a work of art or language special. Does it do something new or different? Do I, as an artist and an academic writer, produce things that are somehow new and different? What really makes these things worthwhile? A word I've become very tired of in relation to this question is original. It feels like a buzzword that no longer means anything. Be an original is as good as follow your dream or reach for the stars. The sentiment from whence it comes is really very nice, but it's said so many times that it's hard to hear it anymore. So really, I think as I write my papers and paint my paintings, would I want to be original? What does this overused word actually mean? Its very straightforward etymology starts with the Latin oriri, to rise, and goes quite directly to originalis, meaning earliest source, first ever. First ever. No pressure there. No, I like that I'm a product of other things, and that the things I make come from various inspirations and influences. I like that I come from somewhere and have a background that contributes to who I am. and I like that everything I produce can be seen in echoes throughout history. That's what makes me a part of everything and allows me to connect to the rest of the world. Originality, when carefully considered, seems pretty overrated. A word I much prefer is genuine. For one thing, its etymology is much more interesting than that of original. Genuine has two supposed sources. One is the Latin genuinus, meaning native, natural, or innate, and stemming from the same root as words like genus or gene, which refers to begetting. There's a sense of birth and source here, which evolves into the idea of a person being born with something, that which comes naturally or is innate. The other supposition is that genuine comes from the Latin genu, meaning knee, because of the idea of an ancient tradition by which a father acknowledged paternity of a newborn by placing the baby on his knee. Again, there's a sense of birth and a consideration of a thing's origin, and in this case, it is paired with the sense that genuineness is something you can't fake. It's acknowledgement that something comes from its reputed source. It comes naturally, it comes from exactly where it's said to come from. It's trustworthy and legitimate. If there's one thing I've gleaned here that I'd like to share with my graduating class, it's that being original has come to seem far less important than being genuine. To try and do something first, or for that matter best or most, is to try for the wrong reasons. It's just the pursuit of a superlative. Somewhere in this huge subjective world, someone will have done it before me, better than me, or more than me, at least by somebody's standards. If the creator burns out at the end of the day, what will that pursuit have been for? Striving for originality, because of its superlative implications, is not sustainable. But there is nothing more sustainable than remaining genuine. My own innermost values and convictions are always with me, growing and adapting as we do. And that's regardless of what any other standards say. Actions, words, and creations put forth in the spirit of being genuine will always be the strongest, because they come from a place of strongest belief, always to be supported, acknowledged, and owned by the creator who believes in them. In one of my English classes at CMU, the discussion turned, as it so often does, to whether or not a given piece of media was telling us anything new or different. There are so many books out there, the professor said, more than anyone can read in a lifetime, and already so many of them say essentially the same things. Do we need any more books? What do you think, Laura? I'd been put on the spot. Exasperated, I said, that's like asking if we need any more people. Sorry, I'm rereading things. People around me laughed, seemed confused, or looked oddly hurt. No, we don't need any more. There are too many as it is, I clarified, but we just keep making them. We can't stop making books, and we can't stop making people. And once one is made, someone ends up loving it just for what it is, because each one is special. Books aren't original, and art isn't original, and people aren't original. They come from somewhere and are often products of many different things. But they are special, so long as they have someone to love them and believe in them and say that they come from somewhere good and true. I hope going forward that we are all genuine and find fulfillment in that at the end of the day. I hope we're all proud enough of the things we do, say, and make that we'd be willing to place these things on our figurative knees and acknowledge them as our own.
Thank you, Laura. And with that, I think it is time to give you some diplomas. So we are going slightly out of our normal order because we have 3 students graduating who are members of Scotch and Soda, and because of that have the opportunity to go meet Stephen Schwartz, who is speaking at commencement today, or getting an honorary degree or something. So we're going to go slightly out of order and have the 3 of them come up first, and then we'll proceed in our normal routine. So Anna, Alex, and Jackie, would you please come up, and with their respective deans, please stand. And then I will say you like properly. So first, a Bachelor of Humanities in Ethics, History, and Public Policy and Architecture to Anna M. Faya. Next, Alexander Petty, Bachelor of Science and Arts in Chemistry and Music Composition. And a Bachelor of Fine Arts in a student-defined major, Transmedia Drama and Communications, Jacqueline M. Mischel. All right, now we will proceed. We'll do BHAs, then BSAs, then BCSAs, and in alphabetical order. So if you'll come up on the stage right stairs, and then proceed across. And on this side, Dr. Hagan will have a tiny token for you. So these are our Bachelor of Humanities and Arts graduates. Nicole L. Anderson, History and Art. Oh, apparently we're going to line up in alphabetical order now. You have chosen to do this. If we do this, let's move against the wall so that families on this side can see their graduates and are not blocked. So maybe it won't be so much a line as a clump. Please clump in alphabetical order. All right. Rachel G. Asbell, Psychology and Architecture. Samuel G. Barton IV, Psychology and Music Technology. Abby Catherine Botnick, Professional Writing and Drama. Vanessa T. Branch, Creative Writing and Art with a minor in Hispanic Studies. Charles S. Burlingham, Cognitive Neuroscience and Art. Daniel De Jesus Campos Zamora, Psychology and Art. Not with us today is Samantha C. Chu, but we like her. Renee Cuenca, Environmental Policy and Architecture. Rosalind M. Denton, Japanese Studies and Art with a minor in Music Technology. Sandra Rose Hart, Creative Writing and Art. Elizabeth E. Imus, Linguistics and Art with an additional major in Human-Computer Interaction. Jiyoon Kim, History and Design. Catherine Y. Lee, Chinese Studies and Art with a minor in Communication Design. Talia Shea Levin, Creative Writing and Drama. Monica T. Lee, Psychology and Music Performance with a minor in Cognitive Neuroscience. Bridget M. McCoy, Hispanic Studies and Music Performance. Laura A. Paik, English and Art. Sejal K. Popat, Logic and Computation and Art with a minor in History. Tyler W. Porton, Japanese Studies and Art with an additional major in Human-Computer Interaction. Samuel N. Polis, Film and Media Studies and Art. Taylor L. Preston, History and Art. Rachel E. Schmidt, Ethics, History and Public Policy and Drama. Not joining us today is Tio Sil Son, Psychology and Music Performance, but we also like her. Samantha L. Ward, Professional Writing and Art. Isabella Chiime Weiss, Linguistics and Music Performance with a minor in Business Administration. Anna L. Wettergreen, Psychology and Art with a minor in Business Administration. Minya Xie, Psychology and Art with an additional major in Human-Computer Interaction. And also not joining us for Humanities and Arts is Yu Zhao, Psychology and Photography. Sorry, we like her. Thank you, Dean Shyness. Now we are doing the Bachelor of Science and Arts degrees with Associate Dean Grotzinger. So if our BSAs would prepare yourselves. These are your Bachelors of Science and Arts graduates. Stephanie Amanda Si-Yin Cheng, Physics and Art. Alexa N. Getz, Biological Sciences and Music Performance. Campbell A. Rogers, Mathematical Sciences and Music Performance with a minor in Computational Finance. Catherine A. Schwartz, Physics and Drama. Sam A. Smith, Physics and Music Performance. And Rachel E. Willen, Biological Sciences and Art. And finally, our Bachelor of Computer Science and Art graduates. Dean Moore. This is our largest BCSA class ever imaginable. I'm kind of astonished at that. Mackenzie E. Bates, Computer Science and Art with a minor in Human-Computer Interaction. Andrew M. Bueno, Computer Science and Art. Jacob N. Klingensmith, Computer Science and Architecture. Kina P. McIntosh, Computer Science and Art. Divya Mauli, Computer Science and Music Technology. Jolyn M. Sanford, Computer Science and Art. Mark Daniel Strelo, Computer Science and Art with a minor in Japanese Studies. Andrew M. Sweet, Computer Science and Art. Amanda M. Watson, Computer Science and Drama. And we already gave one of our student-defined major, but this is our other. Thank you, Dean Moore. Oh, are we keeping him? Sure, stay. Everybody's here. He took a bunch of CS courses, it makes sense. I give to you another student-defined major, Bachelor of Arts, to Luke J. Schinker for Software, Art, and Entrepreneurship. Thank you, Deans. That is our ceremony. Congratulations to all of our graduates. Let's give them all another round. I would also like to give one more acknowledgement, and that is to Emily Size, our program coordinator, who made all of this run the way it does. And because you cannot tell that she did this, means she did this right. Thank you, Emily. I'm going to leave you now with 3 pieces of advice, and then you will be done with me advising you for all time. Not really, you can always come back. 1, please join us right across the hall in the Alumni Concert Hall for a reception. We have breakfast, we have coffee. Please come and have some. 2, at 10 o'clock, the graduates will begin lining up. We will go to Baker Hall to do this. At 10, we'll start rounding you. Look for Alexa. Alexa, raise your hand. Look for Alexa holding a flag. She is our flag bearer. We line up behind her to proceed to the stadium. Your parents and family can then scatter and go find their seats. 3rd, getting out of the stadium this year because of construction will be fairly chaotic. I highly recommend that you plan to meet your families by the Solar Decathlon House, where it's nice and quiet and there are picnic tables. Show your families where that place is. Plan to meet them there. Highly recommend. That is all. I send you forth into the world, but first forth into breakfast. And congratulations, class of 2015.